right, good afternoon. The time is 11:30, and I'll call this regular meeting, workshop board meeting of the Copperas Cove Economic Development to order. Brittany, will you call the roll, please?
Yes. Joey Afaji.
Here.
Jonas Titus.
Here.
Adam Martin.
Here.
Jeremy Tate.
Here.
Marcy Lowry. Here. Diane Dressel.
Not present.
Present. She's present.
Thank you, Brittany. All right, any announcements today?
Yes, we have quite a few. On Tuesday, April 9th, Assistant Director Diane Dressel graduated Oklahoma University Economic Development Institute. Friday, April 19th, Executive Director Jonas Titus and Assistant Director Diane Dressel attended a multimodal feasibility project meeting. On Thursday, April 25th, there's a chamber mixer at 6:30 at the Navy Federal Credit Union. Saturday, April 27th, that's the special election day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and that's at the Coryell County Justice of the Peace. Saturday, April 27th, 2019, there's a Pacific Tanning 15-year anniversary celebration. It's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Pacific Tanning. Saturday, April 27, 2019, there's a 4th annual Spring Stand Down in City of Killeen Triage at 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Killeen Community Center. Saturday, April 27th, the Knights of Columbus Golf Tournament at 7 a.m. at the Hills of Cove Golf Course. Saturday, April 27th, there's a Zumba Fest from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Ogletree Park. Sunday, April 28th, there's a charity pool tournament at 3 p.m. at the Trackside Nightclub. Tuesday, April 30th, there's a law enforcement torch run at 9 a.m. at the Copperas Cove Police Department. Saturday, May 11th, there's a Jackrabbit run at 8 a.m. at Ogletree Park. And May 16th to May 19th, there's Rabbit Fest. Thursday and Friday will start at 4 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday will start at 10 a.m. at the Copperas Cove City Park.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to workshop items. Workshop item D1, discussion regarding board members of the Copperas Cove Economic Development Corporation residing in the the ETJ.
Territorial.
Mr. Youngs.
Well, thank you for having me this morning. The reason I approached y'all about having this workshop is that there's been discussion among several council members, not violating the Open Records Act, but that why do we have restrictions on the makeup of our commission and our commissions and boards? The P&Z is very restrictive on who can be on it and who can't. There was some discussion about you can't live in the ETJ and be on the EDC board. That went back and forth several times. I remember a year or so ago, when Joey got appointed, there was a large discussion among the council that night because two people that were on there was 5 people on the list to be appointed. 2 of them lived in the ETJ. There was a large discussion that evening, and those 2 people that lived in the ETJ were taken off the list. So I said, okay, I'm going to try to put this to bed once and for all. So I said, I'm going to do research to find out, is there anything that says you cannot be on a Type A EDC board and not live in the ETJ? The first document I chose to research, because I said, I better make sure there's nothing in state documents. If there's something in the a state document that precludes this, then we're dead in the water. We can't overcome the state documents. So the document I use is Texas Local Government Code. Anything you want to know about running a city or county, it's in here. In this document, the economic development is covered by chapters 501, 502, 503, 504, and 505. Specifically, chapter 504 covers Type A corporations. There's nothing in this book that says you have to live in the city for a Type A. Type B is a little bit more restricted. So that was that. There's nothing in the state documents that preclude someone living in the ETJ to serve on the Type A. The next thing I looked at was the Texas Municipal League Economic Development Handbook. Very good book. Anything you want to know about it? EDC is in this book. The only thing it talks about for Type A and Type B, it talks about Type A and Type B as well as other type of economic development corporations, activities within the state of Texas. The only thing it really talks about is the difference between Type A and Type B. So this book also does not have any reference to ETJ restrictions. The next thing I looked at was in March 28th of 2018, we had an economic development for community leaders workshop. It was presented by Carlton Schwab, President and CEO of the Texas Economic Development Council. That's what it was, a council workshop. On page 26, item 66, must a Type A board member be a resident of the city? That is the question. The answer is, the Development Corporation Act does not specify any residency requirement for a Type A board member. A Type A director is not required to be a resident of the city. All right, so that's that. Next, I checked the Book of Ordinances.
For Copperas Cove.
And lo and behold, our very own ordinance 2-18, selection of members of commissions, boards, and committees. That's the title of the ordinance. In this case, this ordinance only addresses Keep Cove Beautiful, the Animal Committee, and the EDC. And the reason it is because we were having a hard time getting a vet, which is state law, to be on your animal advisory committee. We only had a limited number of vets in the city, and they weren't really interested at that time. So it was changed that if we could get even if a person lived in another city and he was willing to provide that service for the city, we opened that position up. I'm not real familiar with Keep Cove Beautiful. It was kind of like the more people we can get in, the better off we are. And this ordinance says the people that serve on these committees do not have to have a residency requirement for the animal shelter, KCCB, or the EDC. So it says you do not have to be a resident of the city to serve on the EDC. That's the only thing I can find in our ordinances. I also checked the city charter. There's really nothing in the charter addressing the EDC. But it was another document I wanted to check. These are my notes. I've got each one of these documents and the chapters and the page numbers, and I can give them to Diane so she can have them. But my only comment is, why limit ourselves just to the city? Because many people that we have that live in our ETJ, some own businesses, some have been here for years, they work in the city. So why cut them from the pie? It just gives us a larger population to select talent from. So this is the same information I'm going to give to the city council. I've already given it to the city manager. I think he's going to put it on the 7th of May, have an agenda item to discuss this type of thing on the 7th May agenda. So I just want to share that with you guys. So when somebody says, well, I'd really like to be on the EDC board, and the response is, well, I'm sorry, or he says, I really want to be on the EDC board, but I keep being told I live in the ETJ, so I can't. So I just want to get this out in the open so you can say, yes, you can.
Mr. Youngs, I am
That concludes my workshop.
I'm in complete support of what you're saying, but I guess my question would be, why do we have to limit it to the ETJ? Just as a for example, if we had an attorney in town that had a law office here, was paying taxes in the city, but maybe happened to live in Kempner or something like that, you know, to be able to get the right talent on the board, could we expand this to just removing the residency requirement altogether? Is that something that you would consider?
Well, my main focus on this was to come up in either we can't assign people that live in the ETJ because of this rule somewhere, or we can. Again, I go back to the Developed Corporation Act does not specify any residency requirement for a Type A board member.
Sure.
It doesn't say ETJ. It just says is not required to be a resident of the city. So to answer your question, that's probably something I really wasn't looking for. What I was looking for was, can we have people living in the ETJ or not?
Absolutely.
Bottom line. Well, that was my bottom line curiosity. So having somebody that would probably be a point of discussion. Do we want somebody from Killeen on our EDC?
And just, just for the sake of conversation, if it does come up, I know that some of our sister cities nearby, for the right profession, they have several professionals that don't actually live in the city limits, but they always have a vested interest in that city. And it seems to me, if it was up to me, I would love to have the top talent and motivations on the board. And I think that, city council always has positive control over who serves on the board and can remove if it ever did become a problem. But, the less limiting of our options that we had, I think would be the best for the city.
I don't know, to be honest with you, I'm not quite sure how far the ETJ goes out in the Kempner area. I know where the city limit sign is of Kempner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if our ETJ goes out further than that or is limited to that.
Sure.
But I agree with you. I think whatever we can do to get the best talent and that has a vested interest in what's going on in our city. So, but I'm glad. Item number 4 on your action items is discussion of your bylaws. I did not check the bylaws. So.
Sure.
Would you like me to speak to that, or
Yes.
should we do that in the?
Well, no, I'm just saying I did
We're
not
just having
check.
a conversation here. I think it's very appropriate.
I'm just saying you have an item coming up on your action items. Whether I don't know if there's any verbiage in the bylaws that address residency requirements. So.
Yeah, I'd be happy to speak to that very briefly. Our bylaws simply state that directors and officers shall be appointed and serve in accordance with Texas Local Government Code, Chapter 504, Subchapter B. That is the document that
you got it covered.
is the same. It says the only stipulation is that the directors are appointed by the governing body of the authorizing municipality, which would be the city. And the only mention of a location is with the location of the board meetings, and 504.054 is that the corporation shall conduct each board meeting within the boundaries of the authorizing municipality.
Right.
So our bylaws, nor do the referenced statutes that allows for our existence, do not specify whether a director must be a resident or even in the ETJ.
The only thing I was not able to do in this workshop document, which Diane probably has a copy of this thing, I was not able to get hold of Mr. Schwab because I was trying to say, can you give me a reference where you took out this comment out of, was it the Texas Government Code, some other document that I don't know about? But I never could run him down. So, but he's got it in his workshop, so I quoted it. So anyway, that's concludes my workshop.
Well, we definitely appreciate the research, and there's no doubt that you found all the sources that exist on the topic. So
So,
it looks like we have a action item to discuss it in the upcoming meeting.
well, I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, the time is 11:45. Is there anything else from the board? Time is 11:45, and we will adjourn this special meeting. Workshop. Is everybody ready? All right, good afternoon. The time is 12 p.m., and I'll call this regular meeting of the Copperas Cove Economic Development Corporation to order. Today's invocation and pledge will be led by Joey Afaji.
If you can join me in prayer and the pledge, bow your head, please. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussions. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of our community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, and continue to remind us all that we are here today, all that we accomplish is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of our community. We ask these things in your name. Amen. U.S. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Thank you, Joey. Brittany, will you call the roll, please?
Joey Afaji,
Here.
Jonas Titus,
Here.
Adam Martin,
Here.
Jeremy Tate,
Jeremy had to step out. He won't be present for today's meeting.
Marcy Lowry,
Here.
Diane Dressel.
Citizens Forum. At this time, citizens will be allowed to speak on any matter other than personnel matters, matters under litigation, or matters on the regular agenda for a length of time not to exceed 5 minutes per person. 30 minutes total has been allotted for this section. Would anyone like to speak at Citizens Forum today? Seeing none, we'll move on. Consent agenda. All matters listed under this item are considered to be routine by the EDC Board of Directors and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Item F1, consideration and action on approval of minutes for the regular board meeting held on March 27th, 2019. Brittany Sanders, Administrative Assistant, Copperas Cove, EDC.
Agenda minutes for March 27th regular board meeting are complete and ready for the board's review. Pending any questions?
Thank you. Any questions by the board?
No.
What's the desire of the board?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes for the regular board meeting on March 27th as written.
I'll second that.
Motion for approval by Marcy, second by Joey. Is there any additional discussion on the item? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. And we have no public hearing scheduled for today. Moving into the action items. Item H1, consideration and action on authorizing the release of funds to the City of Copperas Cove for charges to the CCEDC for services rendered as agreed upon by various city employees for the month of March 2019. Velia Key, Director of Financial Services.
Thank you, sir. The month of March, we have the hours for different city staff in the amount of $772.87. I will be happy to answer any questions regarding this invoice.
Thank you. What is the desire of the board?
And I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve each one as read.
Motion for approval by Joey,
And I'll second that one.
second by Marcy. Is there any additional discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. Item H2, Consideration and action on approving the unaudited financial report of the CCEDC for the month of March 2019. Velia Key, Director of Financial Services.
Thank you, sir. So the highlights of the month of March, the portfolio is, the 7.7 is allocated to the operating account in the amount of $460,000, $341. And for the tax pool, the allocation is 92.3% and equals to $5.5 million. Overall, there is an increase of $700,842 when we compare the March 2018 to March 2019. Year-to-date, the revenues exceeded expenditures by $482,315. The total sales tax allocations received from the city equals to $92,696. The interest received for the month of March is equals to $11,507. That is an increase from prior year of over $5,000. The total amount of the expenses for the month is $33,275. There were 24 disbursements made during the month of March. All of them routine, with the exception of one, and that was check number 272 for Chloe Johnson in the amount of $10,555 with 51 cents, and that is for the executive search. If we go into the actual financials, we can see that the ending financial position of the corporation at month end, the fund balance is $6,183 with 111. Are there any questions regarding the financials? No.
What's the desire of the board?
Hold on, I'm there. I'll make the motion to approve, hold on, I lost it. Sorry. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, just H2.
Is it H2?
Yeah.
Hold on. My screen is messed up here. Bear with me. To approve the unaudited financial report for March 2019 as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion for approval by Marcy and second by Joey. Is there any additional discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item H3, discussion and direction on the EDC-owned building located at 201 South 2nd Street, Copperas Cove, Texas. Diane Drussel, Assistant Director, Copperas Cove EDC.
Good afternoon. As you all may remember, in 2017, the Copperas Cove and the county made a building swap between our old EDC building and the building on 2nd Street. In February, I brought some quotes to you regarding the demolition, which was the direction I was given at the time to get some quotes on the demolition of that building. The one main quote we had first was the $40,000 from Burke's. The second quote that I received from Site 3 Corporation it wasn't like an official quote, but they came up with I went on the high end to the $6 per square foot. That one comes up to $38,400. And there's a third company that's pending. I have not received their quote yet. So those are the quotes that we've gotten, and the average is between $5 and $6 per square foot. Recently, when Jonas and I were at the meet and greet for Jonas, we were also approached, this is something else I'm just going to throw to you all. We were approached by Judge Miller, and he was asking if the EDC would be interested in leasing that building to them, short-term or long-term, just for the use of elections. I told him that we would bring it to the board and let you all make some sort of determination or consider that. Neither Jonas nor myself committed to anything because there's a lot that would have to be ironed out with that as far as terms and electric and water and the insurance, because as you may remember, our insurance on that building will end in October, actually at the end of September, due to being a vacant building. Philadelphia will not insure a vacant building. So I guess at this time, we need direction as the EDC staff on what you all truly want to do with that building, so we can start making some decisions and determinations as well.
I'll just kind of start with some discussion. I think it would be great to be able to help out the county in the situation. However, if I understand correctly, to be able to lease it, we do have to get a market rent, and we would want that to be full-time. And I don't think that's what the judge was requesting. It seemed to me like it was more on a part-time basis.
Yes,
for
and I had even
elections.
asked him, I said, so you all would be turning utilities off and on every time there's an election? You know, so that's one thing that they would have to consider as well. Plus, they would have the building set up. One thing that was kind of thrown out there is if, in fact, this is something that the board was interested in doing, that they would pay for the insurance. But again, I think that there are so many variables. Again, there's always costs involved with turning on and turning off different utilities. Again, he didn't care if it was for a year or a 5-year plan. He's kind of just searching for different solutions for himself because there's no parking at the other building. And during elections, they've had a tough time, and they've seen people turn around and not come and vote because they can't find places to park. So I honored his request and told him that we would at least bring it up to the board, introduce it to the board, and then go from there.
Just kind of to restate some of the prior conversations, in 2017, we did make the swap with the county, but we also made a deal with the city at the same time that where this is located, there was some kind of future plan to put a city hall building. I don't know how near term that is going to be, but you know that was part of the motivation for the EDC to make this swap. In bargaining for that, or in negotiating, the EDC, once that building is built, will live there rent-free, perpetuity, if I remember correctly. So because of that, we probably really don't want to sell the building, and renting it, we've explored that several times and have run into a number of roadblocks. And there is maintenance on the building and the insurance issue. So my thought is that this time we move forward with the demolition. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that, Adam, for those reasons that you mentioned. I mean, we're not going to be landlords, and it needs a lot of work to just keep the maintenance going on it, and to have it for elections, you know, every now and then it's not wise. You know, it's just wasted space for the most part. So I agree with you.
What do you think, Joey?
I was just gonna say, we stick to go ahead and continue on demolishing the building.
Yeah.
I don't know that we ever made a motion to move forward.
No, because you wanted me to get the other quote, and I've only got that secondary quote in an email, but that's what I was directed to do.
So we have one for approximately $40,000 and one for $38,400.
2 estimates currently.
Yeah, and they told me the average is between $5 and $6 a square foot to remove, and it would be they would take the foundation as well. It would be taken down to the slab.
And that would also include clearing the site.
Yes, not the parking lot. We did not include the parking lot, so if we want to get rid of the parking lot as well, we need to include that in it. But that's for the whole building, including the slab, the foundation.
Well, we don't have to insure the parking lot.
This is true.
So,
What if I trip over there? No, I'm joking.
what's the desire of the board?
Just discussion.
Oh, is it just discussion? Discussion and direction.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, dang it, I was hoping we could take action. Can we get some hard bids as far as more than
I can try. You would be amazed at how many contractors, and Marcy can attest to this because she's been living this life for a year and a half, how many people you request bids from and how many promise them to you and will not give them to you.
okay, but we
So,
have, the one did provide.
yes, and also RNC said they will provide me with one as well. I told them I want a
Okay.
hard bid, so.
Maybe if we can be prepared at next board meeting to take action with, and have one or two to choose from.
And the main reason we didn't put this as an actual action item was mainly because we wanted to discuss the county stuff and at least give you all the opportunity to think about that.
Okay?
So, yes, we'll put it on the next agenda as an action item.
All right, moving on to item H4, discussion and possible direction regarding the EDC bylaws pursuant to April 24th EDC workshop. Diane Drussel.
Actually, I'll be speaking to this
Okay.
one. This is following up from our workshop that we had prior to this meeting. As stated previously, our bylaws and the Texas Local Government Code statute that authorizes the creation of a 4A Economic Development Sales Tax Corporation do not specify or stipulate or place any stipulations with the residents of a potential director. And we can obviously open up our bylaws and make an amendment, amend those to include a provision clarifying that language, but at present, it does not allow nor disallow or for the residents within the city limits. The only preclusion is that our meetings are held within the city limits. So with that, leave it up to you all for direction.
What do you think?
I have a question. Can I ask a question? Have we had applicants that live in the ETJ that were other than what he mentioned earlier? Okay, so I'm good for following the laws. You know, if it says we don't limit it, then we don't limit it. Yeah.
Currently, bylaw shows Texas state statutes of, what is it, chapter 504? If we can go ahead and expand that to add that detail so that it's with the language
there.
as stated by Jonas.
I'm kind of the opinion that that would just be more restrictive. And I think, because now there's no restriction, right?
Right, but 504 basically clarifies it. If you go ahead and add that statement in there that there is
Okay, I see
no
what you're saying.
restrictions.
I see what you're saying.
So basically, instead of just putting the Texas Code 504, spell it out. What's 504 about? Add it into it.
Excuse me, Jerry. 504 subchapter B does not that's the article cited in the creation of the organization, but that does not, neither our bylaws nor the Texas Local Government Codes specifies that a director has to live within the city limits.
Correct. What it does specify that it does not, correct?
No, it does not. It does not address it
Either
at
way.
all. Yes.
Okay. So would it restrict it if we just go ahead and open it up?
I mean, I think the clarification, putting it in there wouldn't hurt anything, but right now, there is none. There is no restriction. I think there's two things at work here. You know, of course, we have our bylaws, but as far as appointing board members, that is solely up to the discretion of the city council, and they can make an ordinance to say it has to be in the city or not. So right now, I think we're okay on our bylaws as far as what the conversation was, and leave that up to the city council, definitely with the discussions that we had in the workshop, and maybe just to repeat it, I'm very much in favor of not restricting service on the EDC board to actual residents of the city, but more so restricted to people that have a vested interest in the city, you know, either own a business here or work here. But if you have a talent and a desire to serve the city, I would hate to restrict for where you live, especially since as a board member, we're not making decisions for the city. That's reserved for the city council. So Joey, would you want to put something in there that says this is not restricted by our bylaws, or leave it alone?
If there is no restrictions currently and it's interpreted as such or actually explained as such, then I'd leave it alone.
Okay. I agree with that. Marcy? Yeah. Okay. All right, moving along. Item H5, consideration and action of assigning another board member as a check signer. Jonas Titus, Executive Director.
Yes, we looked at our bylaws for this one as well. Currently, our bylaws stipulate that for checks less than $5,000, they can be signed by either the chairman or the treasurer without additional board approval, provided that it is a budgeted expense. I know that there will potentially be some travel in the upcoming months, so having an additional signatory for the account could make it more efficient for the staff to get out our bills that are due. So that would definitely increase the efficiency on our end.
What's the desire of the board?
In action, Adam, in the action of assigning a board member, do we go ahead and conduct volunteer, or do we vote?
I think it would just be as a motion.
Okay,
And but excuse me, before we do that,
right.
I see what you're saying. Do you have a preference?
Joey?
Yeah, Joey seems to be in the office pretty regularly. I think that would be very appropriate
Yeah.
for you to be a signer.
Yeah, because my schedule wouldn't allow it. And, yeah.
I'm
Okay.
I'm here to help
Sure.
best way I can.
I think that would be wonderful, and it would give us some other options, because right now there's two, and if both of us aren't here, we're kind of in a pickle. I think we're ready for a motion.
I'll make the motion to assign Joey Flashy as a signer for the checks for EDC.
Okay. Motion by Marcy. You know what? I'll second that one.
Okay.
Just keep this. Yeah, right. Is there any additional discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, looks like we don't have any reports from staff, outside entities, or advisory committees today. Any items for future agendas?
So, Adam, you've already had the directions to go ahead and get an RFP, quotes and everything else, so we can make a decisions for the demolish of Second Street, correct?
Yes, and since we're no longer in the city, we don't have to do RFPs necessarily. But yeah, the underwriting and
The underwriting, okay.
research,
It's already been there, so it's ready to be put on next month.
I think so.
If not, then that's what I would request.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Moving on to executive session, item K1, pursuant to subsection 551.074 of the Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, the Economic Development Corporation Board will meet in executive session for deliberation regarding CCEDC board applications. The time is now 12:23, and we will adjourn into executive session. Is this everybody? We good? All right, the time is 12:47, and we will reconvene into the regularly scheduled board meeting for the CCEDC. We have come out of executive session, and no action was taken. The time is now 12:47, and we are adjourned.